Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Denise Dennis, and I help coaches automate their businesses so that they can free up their time and get back to coaching. I'm the CEO and founder of Action Accelerated, and I'm excited to be here today.
Awesome, awesome. So tell us a little bit about, how you got started in automation. Like, why did you choose that as your business path?
Well, I actually did not choose it to begin with. I actually was my doctorate is in organizational psychology, and I was a psychology professor for 25 years. And while I was a professor, I also was doing leadership coaching on the side.
Okay.
And so as the coaching business was growing, I was, to grow a business, back in my day, to grow a business, you had to go out to all these various networking and breakfast meetings and so doing that plus full-time job, plus I got married and I was just exhausted all the time. And I was like, this is not working. So I realized if I started doing webinars, that I could market the business using webinars. And so I was using webinars to market my coaching business. So I didn't have to do all that running around. And then my coaching clients would say, well, hey, how'd you set up that webinar? And I'd show them how to do a webinar. And they would do a webinar and it would be a big flop. And they'd be like, well, nobody bought anything. It's like, well, what did you send out after the webinar? And they're like, what are you talking about? So I'm like, okay, well, there's things you have to do before the webinar. There's things you have to do after the webinar. There's a whole ecosystem there that you have to pay attention to. And so I found myself explaining more and more to more and more coaches or more and more of my clients how to set these things up. And I realized, okay, there's obviously a need here. And because my background is coaching, it makes sense to provide coaches with those systems and that process for how to set up their business so that they could automatically grow their business, market their business, and still have time to coach and do their life outside of coaching.
Yeah, I love that. There's so many different things you said there because one, having a life outside of your business, that's a huge value and principle behind my business as well. So I can completely relate to that. And I think a lot of people watching will relate to that too. And just the need of, we hear all these strategies online about webinars and challenges and all these things, but the magic of all of these processes or these strategies is really the automation on the back end. Like
Yeah.
you said, someone can come and watch your masterclass or your webinar or attend your challenge, but how are you nurturing them before and after in automation to save yourself time that's really going to convert someone into a sale. So I think
Yeah.
that's an amazing need. I love it.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that so much. So when you say automation, can you kind of explain to people who maybe aren't familiar with that word, what that means?
Yeah. So automation just means using software tools and technology to take the human out of it and take care of those repetitive tasks that might be taking up a whole bunch of your time inside your business, whether it's sending emails, sending invoices, following up on invoices, doing your networking follow-up for you. All of those are things that can be set up to run on autopilot.
Love it. I love it. So what would you say, like, to someone watching you who doesn't have any automation set up in their business? What is like the very first place they should start?
The very first place they should start would be in capturing your leads, capturing people's information. So if you, let's say that you have a Facebook page and you're on Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is that you're on, or YouTube, whatever it is that you're on, you might have a million followers. That's wonderful. However, if you ever needed to reach out to them and you wanted to make them an offer, sell them something, have them sign up for something, you can't because you have no way to reach those people. So you want to make sure that you can capture their name and their email address so that you can continue the conversation offline. So the first thing you're going to want to automate is a system to capture their information and follow up with them. Then, for most many of the people that I work with are coaches. So for most of them, I'll say the next thing that's important is to have some way to set up appointments. So have some sort of scheduling link. There are systems out there called Calendly or Acuity, and many others, which are all leaving my mind at this moment, but they're out there. Google it. There's plenty of systems out there where you can say, rather than that, hey, can you meet at Monday at 2? Well, no. Can you meet Thursday at 5? No. Doing that whole back and forth, you can just say, hey, here's my link. Choose the day and time that works for you. So and you want that because that's how you can get people on the phone so that you can have a sales conversation. And then the third thing you want to automate is getting paid. So that's having an order form you can send out or an invoice, and having it set up so it can automatically take the money out of the person's account if it's a 3-pay or a 6-pay, or once a year they're not once a year, but once a month for a year they're paying you something. Have all that stuff automated rather than you having to chase them down for monthly payments.
Yeah, absolutely. And those 3 things are massive time savers, right? Even just the email back and forth. Like I hear that so many times, people, or how frustrating that is on email. Just send them a link. Like so much easier.
Yeah.
No stress, goes automatically on your calendar, all that good stuff. So I love that.
Exactly.
Those 3 things are amazing. And if anyone's watching this video has questions about those 3 automations, drop them in the comments below. And Denise's information will all be below as well if you ever want to contact her to find out more about her services to help you with these things. So what about the mistakes? Like we've covered the 3 things, that people need to do if they haven't started, but like people get, they go down a wormhole of automation, just like, I have in the past. And then they think, oh, I need to set up all these things, and they try all this stuff, and they have Zapier going, and, all this craziness, right? And it becomes kind of a mess.
Exactly.
I mean, I have had that happen where all these apps and things are breaking. So what are like the biggest mistakes you see entrepreneurs make when it comes to automation?
The number one mistake that people make when it comes to automating is automating too soon. You need to be clear on what is your process? What is your system? So let's say you want to automate your onboarding. Well, what is your system for bringing on new clients? Do you want them to fill out an intake form? Do you want them to sign an agreement or a contract? Do you want them to pay their invoice? And what's the order in which you want these things to happen? Figure out all of that first and have your one right way of doing things first, and then see what elements of that you can automate. I find that to be the biggest problem, the biggest mistake that people make, because they hear automation, they start automating things, and it doesn't actually work the way they want their business to work. So that's number one. The second is, now, even though I preach automation all the time, it's this believing that it's a set it and forget it approach. And even though sometimes I'll slip and say set it and forget it, really it's set it, test it, monitor it, optimize it, and don't forget that it exists. So there's always going to be ways that you're going to want to improve it. You're always going to want to test your automations to make sure that it's sending out the information that you meant for it to send out when you meant for it to go out. So just periodically go in there, because things, like you're saying, things just randomly will break sometimes, and you just want to make sure you're checking on that.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is, again, even though I'm all about automation, that does not mean totally eliminate the human touch. So we often talk about in the sales process, sometimes it takes 7 to 12 touches before someone is actually ready to buy. So you can use automation for many of those touches, the emails, the automated text messaging, all of those can be ways to connect and put yourself in front of your client, your prospective client, but also in there, include some phone calls, include you actually communicating with that person. Or if we're automating our customer satisfaction process, which is one of the other things I do for clients, if somebody's satisfied, maybe you're going to ask them for a testimonial. If they're dissatisfied, have built into your automation a way to trigger you knowing Sally's dissatisfied. Give her a call. So then you're picking up the phone and talking to that person. So still having that human touch in there.
Yeah, I love that so much, because those businesses that don't have those elements in place, right? And you're getting like those automated messages over and over again, especially
Yes,
now that text messages are becoming a bigger thing. I get
exactly.
that a lot. And I'm like, this is just an automated message, right?
Right.
You can tell. So yeah, if someone reaches out to me personally, even on like Instagram direct message, or maybe they send me a video, or even if it is a text message, but you can tell it's more personalized, that makes a huge difference. So I love that
Right.
you say that personal aspect still, and having those automated triggers to still tell you to check in, because sometimes you just
Yes.
forget, right? To check in.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Yeah, awesome. I love all these tips. And so, what would you say, are like the top seven, we're going to pick that number of automation strategies that you think are needed in business?
All right. So the first one, I'm going to cheat a little bit because it's pre-automation, which would
Yes.
be attracting the right traffic. So even before you set up ads, or even before you're doing your YouTube live or TikTok dance or whatever it is that you're doing, who is it that you're who is it that you're targeting? So being really, really clear on who you want your avatar to be, which you can still automate by creating some quick surveys that you send out to learn more about your ideal target audience. That would be number one. Number two would be what I mentioned before, capturing leads. You want to automate your system for capturing leads, which is a fancy way of saying, you give away a free thing, but before they can get that free thing, they have to give you their name and email address. I'm sure if you're watching this, you probably have signed up for something but in the past. So that's capturing the people's information. The third is to nurture the relationship. And so sometimes we'll call this a nurture sequence. And that just means creating a conversation, giving people the opportunity to know, like, and trust you through their inbox, through text messaging. And again, all of this automated, where you could come up with 52 emails. One time, come up with 52 emails and automate that so you have a year's worth of touches with someone. So whenever they sign up on your list, they're getting an email once a week for the next year from you, so that you're always in their inbox, so that when they're ready to buy, you're the first person that they think of.
Right.
What was that? 1, 2, 3. Number 4 would be a system for converting those conversations into cash. That might mean scheduling a sales call and automating that process, like we talked about before. It might mean having a sales page with a checkout form on it, or some other sort of invoice or order form where people can, whenever they're ready, put in their credit card information and purchase your product or service. So you wake up in the morning and it's like, oh, I made money while I was sleeping.
Yeah.
That's our ideal.
It's
That,
totally
that
great
pillowcase money
feeling.
is our ideal. Now, it doesn't end there. So I talked before about onboarding. The next one would be delivering on that product or service. So how are we bringing people on? We want people to know that we care about them, not just the fact that we now have their money and we have a customer, but we care about this person. So maybe that means not just automating a contract, but sending them a welcome packet. Maybe that means automatically sending them a paper card in the mail, and we can automate that process as well. My VIP clients, I would used to, anytime I got a new VIP client, I would automatically send them brownies from a company that would deliver brownies. Trying to be more
Oh,
health
cute.
conscious now, so I don't do
Yeah.
brownies anymore. But that is something that is possible.
Yeah.
And then once you have that client, automatically sending them the login information to your client portal, periodically just checking in, see how they're doing, sending them little gifts and emails and check-ins throughout their experience with you. And then turning that, so it'll be number 6, will be turning that person into a lifetime customer. It is much more expensive to go out and try to get a brand new customer than it is to have our current customers, keep them happy and keep them coming back. So that's letting our current customers know about other services that we offer. So they bought course A, let them know about course B, or upselling them. They were in our group coaching program. Now let them know about our one-on-one coaching or our VIP day. So continuing that relationship by providing opportunities for them to continue to grow and have the same transformation with your business. And then spread the love, meaning we want to ask those people who already know, like, and love us to give us testimonials that we can then use to get new clients, to write reviews for us that might go on our Google My Business page, or that we can use in our social media marketing, and to give us referrals, because we're hoping that this wonderful client knows other people that are just as wonderful who also might be great clients. Mm-hmm. And so if we do these 7 things, if only those 7 things are automated in our business, then we're really going to be set up for success.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That was so much information. I loved it. I think everyone watching this video, like, I hope you're making notes, because all 7 of those things, I can't tell you how long it took me to learn those 7 things in my business. And if someone would have just told me that right from the beginning, I probably would have been way farther ahead. So that's amazing. And I loved how you even put, again, that personal touch in with the brownies that you used to send and all those things. Like, those are things people don't think of, right? They think, okay, well, I'll send them an email, make sure they're loving the, product, service, whatever you're delivering on. But it's that extra step that you can take to make the customer experience and that customer journey even better. And that just creates lifelong customers, right? And if you can automate it, 10 times better.
Exactly.
And I also want to touch on that market research step that you said at the beginning, because that's also a really important thing, not only for your automations, but for your content creation, for your product development, for everything, to understand, what are your ideal clients' pains, problems, all of those things. And if you can automate that, and so you're not spending all your time on market research calls or inside of your social platforms, like, those things have their place too. But if you can automate surveys, mind blowing, right? Like, now you have all this information automatically coming to you to improve your business and improve your clients' outcomes and transformations. So I love that part. That's a huge one. I think people should really dial down. And then the other one was customer testimonials, because again, social proof is so important. And this is something I've struggled with so much in my business, is getting people to give you testimonials is sometimes difficult. So if you can have that automation, that's, sending emails to them, reminders, check-ins with them, even reminders for yourself to check in with them to get those, right? Like, that's even a huge thing. You can still have that personal touch, but just sometimes I need a reminder, like, hey, Melissa, make sure you go and check on that person who finished your program so you can get a testimonial. I think those things are
I'll
so
just say
key.
the reverse is true also, because sometimes people feel awkward asking for testimonials. And so if you automate it, you're still making the ask, but it's not you personally, the system is doing it rather than you. And sometimes that's particularly for the more introverted people, that's an easier way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. So now that people know, the 7 things, we touched on a couple things that I love that you should really nail down. How do people get started? Like, what tech do they need for this? Like, can they use Google Forms? Like, what are they using?
Alrighty. So I would recommend being really clear on what marketing automation tool you want to use. So I use Keep. I'm a Keep certified partner. While I love Keep, I also know it's not the only game in town. So you want to find some system that is going to send out automated emails for you. Ideally, it's also going to allow you to send out automated text messaging. You want to have landing pages, which is just a one-page website where people could sign up for your free thing or register for your webinar, for example, or buy your product or service. You want a tool that's going to allow you to schedule appointments. Again, a lot of tools like Keep have it built in, but you also might want to use Calendly or Acuity or one of the other booking platforms out there. When it comes to forms, again, your marketing automation tool might have it, or you're going to want to use Google Forms or JotForm or Typeform. It's really more about, I mean, there's lots of platforms out there. What I would say is to kind of take a step back, go back to that, looking at your systems and the process and thinking about what do you need automated, and then say, okay, I know I need a calendar link. I know I need some forms. I know I'm going to need landing pages. I'm probably going to want to put a form on my website. I want to send automated emails. I want to send automated text messages. I want to send invoices. I want to have recurring payments. Lay all that out and then figure out what's the least number of tools I need to have in order to get everything I need. And that's really how you're also going to save some money. So you're not signing up for 50 different things that have a lot of overlapping functionality.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And it can save you so much headache coming from experience of trying to make all your million tools talk to each other. And the more you go down that rabbit hole of creating those 7 different automations, you might not have those all if you're just beginning, but if you are more established and you have all of those 7, having 1 or 2 tools to do all of that is so much better than trying to piece together 7 different tools.
Exactly.
I definitely had that in my past and it was a headache. So, learn from my mistake and learn from Denise's expertise and, get 1 or 2 tools and make them do everything for you. Yeah.
Although the only caveat, the only thing I would say is that if there's a tool that you love, then, and you don't want to give it up, nobody's trying to force you to give up something that you love. So then choose tools that are going to integrate with that thing that you love so that you don't have to give it up. So just as you're choosing additional tools, check to make sure that all the moving pieces actually are going to work together.
Yeah, I agree with that. Having an open API is a very good thing for a software to have. So that's something to check out. Pro tip. So now that we kind of finished with automations, this is amazing. So much information was given. I'd love to know, what is the biggest lesson that you've learned so far in your entrepreneurial journey?
I would say the biggest lesson is don't reinvent the wheel. Meaning I'm certainly not the first person out here offering marketing automation. I didn't invent it. I don't need to come up with brand new ways of doing things. I'm going to put my unique spin on it, but I don't, nobody's starting from scratch anymore. But because you're not reinventing the wheel, that means go out and find the people who have already achieved that success. Expand your network. Don't feel like everything's a huge competition. There's so many millions of people out there. You couldn't possibly serve all the people out there. So don't worry about competition. Go out and meet and expand your network, learn from other people who've already done the things that you're trying to do, and see how you can take that learning, apply it to your own business, and just put your own unique spin on it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The scarcity mindset of feeling like you can't compete with someone else or that there's not enough people out there is such a scary place to be in. And it's just not fulfilling for you or for your audience. I completely agree with you. There's so many people out there. There's more than enough work to go around. Concentrate on you, your unique zone of genius and your personality, and you will thrive. So I love that piece of advice. So tell everybody here now that we've gotten to know you a little bit more. You've given us some amazing strategies. I know you have something that you want to give away to our audience. So can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes. So I've been talking about automating your business. And so I have a quiz called the Automated Coach Quiz, which you don't actually have to be a coach for those of you who may not be coaches, but it's called the Automated Coach Quiz. And it's just an opportunity for you to figure out where you need to get started and how well prepared you are to automate your business. And you can go to automatedcoachquiz.com to access that.
Awesome. I love it. I'm definitely going to check that out and see what automations I need to put in place that I don't already have.
Right. Right.
Yeah. I'm sure there's many more that I don't already have. And so final like last question for you that I always like to ask everyone is if you could go back in time, and give yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
To trust myself and trust the process. Uh, and I say that because I can go back into old files on my computer and see stuff that I built and either had, way back in the beginning, had one webinar and nobody bought it. Oh, so this product must be trash, and I'm like, look at all of this gold that I created a decade ago that I never used because I was like, it must not be working. I don't, nobody wants this, when it just had been like, no, just do another webinar.
Yeah.
Just trust that it takes time for these things to catch on. It's always a learning process. The product itself, I have so many courses and things that I've created that are on my computer that I literally, my mantra for this year is do not create anything new. I'm just going back and looking at the things I already created. And I wish I had trusted myself in the process back when I initially created it, that if I just move forward with the same thing, it's going to grow into something. And now it will.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Is that tweaking, once you created something, tweaking it and tweaking it and tweaking it is really the magic to making
Yeah.
it work. Yeah, but it's so easy to give up on it. So I love that piece
Yes.
of advice. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on here and teaching us all of this. I hope everyone watching or listening, because it's going to be on the podcast as well, got so much out of this. And all of Denise's links will be below this video or the podcast for you to check out. Give her a follow on social media, download or check out her quiz. And if you're needing automation help, definitely reach out.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much.